Hey, how's it going, everyone? I hope you had a fantastic week, and I hope you're all ready to learn something extremely cool today. So, a while ago, someone told me about N8N, a framework or a platform that you can use to build automation workflows, processes, and better yet, you can put AI into them. You can use LLMs and make AI workflow automation happen with this tool. And better yet, it has this drag and drop UI with nodes that make it extremely easy for you to implement, even from a non technical point of view. Yes, you need to know how things should work and logic, but there's no real coding involved. You can build big workflows and processes just by dragging and dropping and filling in some credentials. Now, let's dive into this and see what N8N is all about and how we can use it in our daily lives and how cool it could be when you put AI in the mix. Now, I hope you can hear the excitement in my voice because this tool is really worth it. Now, what is N8N? Well, firstly, you get a lot of platforms out there that makes it easy for people to co and construct workflows, processes. For example, if we wanted to construct here is an example of an onboarding process where a user fills in a form, there is some logic happening, and in this case, an AI agent, and this is really why it's so cool because you could add agents into these workflows. The agent can then decide what to do with this user and then assign them to the correct Slack channel. Now, yes, Slack channel. You can have many integrations with a lot of companies out there. You can integrate with Google, Discord, Slack, WhatsApp, Telegram, and a bunch more platforms out there that just makes integration feel seamless and also feels endless. And the true power comes in when you leave these flows running. For example, you can have it happen on a time based trigger. For example, a cron job. Every hour or day, it will run this flow. Maybe you have a flow where you want to get a daily news feed, and you can set up a process like this, which goes and grabs the daily news and emails it to you. And that's just an example. That's actually something I did, which I'll show you later down in the video as well. But it comes down to this platform that gives you these nodes, these tools to construct nearly an endless amount of possibilities, anything that you can think of that can be built in this way. Simply by adding nodes, connecting them, configuring them, giving them credentials, and then running it to see the data flow through and complete the entire process. And yeah, and why I like this is it's very straightforward. There's no coding involved. You can just think about what your process should do in a very visual way. Now, there's many platforms out there. For example, OpenAI also recently released their Agent Kit, which has a similar concept of taking nodes, building a node-based flow with these agentic models that you can use, and then you can have these flows run. And Google is also working on something called Opal, which is a similar concept. Yet these platforms regarding OpenAI and Google, they have actually built this to work specifically with AI, which N8N originally wasn't really built to work with AI. The AI node is something that they've added so that you can introduce AI into it. But N8N can be used for anything. It's not just with AI. You can build any workflow with it, but AI can be an option here too. But I'm using N8N because I heard a lot about it and I see tons of YouTube tutorials on it, as well as it's free. You can self host this. So, how N8N works basically, you can pay to host it through N8N themselves, giving you an online, always online instance, or you can host it on Docker. You know, you can get your VPS, load up a Docker, and then you can host it from there. That's more of a self hosting, but then it's also free. Or you can go for something like Hostinger. They've got a VPS that you can run and they do all the grunt work for you. All you do is you pay them and then your N8N instance is up. Now, I'm not sponsored by any of these companies. I'm just letting you know what I did. I used Hostinger to get my instance up so that it's always accessible and running. So I can just log in and do my configurations and have my workflows just work. What I will do is, because this is not a end-to-end tutorial, I'm going to leave two videos in the description of this video. These are the videos that I followed, firstly to get my instance up and running, and secondly to understand how to connect these nodes to build out a basic chat with AI and RAG solution. In the previous video where we talked about LLMs, I spoke about RAG, a way where we can give documentation to an AI. And I've managed to build a phenomenal little process with this N8N, which I'm going to share with you right now as well as we walk through the application. Now, when you launch N8N, you're going to be asked to add your credentials, create yourself a user. Remember, that is for that instance. And then you can start creating your flows right away. Now, basically, there are some paid features, as I presume, from global variables and so forth, but mainly this whole app can be used for free, like I said, if you self-host it as well. Now, here you can see there are 3 flows that I've been working on, experimenting a little bit, and I must say it's making my life a lot easier. Every time I think of something in my life that can be automated, I come here and I think of it and I start playing around until I find a flow that works and I put it on auto run. And it runs every single day, just making the things I like doing a bit easier, a bit more automated, right? And you can go crazy. I mean, if you are into IoT projects, you can even set up cool things like that too with this. And because I love blockchain projects, I'm probably going to see if I can do something amazing with this and blockchain and smart contracts eventually. So it's going to be really cool. However, as you can see here, I've got these 3 flows. The first one being Circumfusion AI Agent. Now, in the previous video, remember, I tried to fine tune an LLM to give it the information of an entire book and see if it could retrieve some information from that book for me. Now, here I did the exact same, but I asked the AI agent in this process to actually pretend that it is one of the characters. And better yet, with the self-trained LLMs, I could only use models which were 3 billion parameter in size. And here I have an endless amount of options because I can connect directly to platforms like OpenAI and use the OpenAI models or the Llama models or DeepSync. So the options are endless. You can use bigger models. Yes, you're going to have to pay for tokens, but with a lot more reasoning behind it, the AI agent just feels so much more um, real, in my opinion. And yeah, this flow entirely took me about 2 to 3 hours to set up, going from not knowing anything about N8N, watching a few YouTube tutorials on it. And like I said, the videos I'll drop in the description, the videos that they make, these accounts make, it's very good. And they really explain a lot on how to connect some of these nodes, especially to get you up and running. But just to show you how simple it is, I'm going to create a new flow right now. So I'm going to click here on create workflow. And this is how you will start. You'll start off with a blank canvas like this. And the first thing you generally add is some sort of trigger, some way to start this process. Now it can be an automatic start, something that runs on a timer, or you can just add a manual trigger like a click. I just click there, and now you can see this is a node. Basically, each node, you can double click on them, and you can do some configuration every time you open one up. And then you can usually go and connect it to something else, to another node. If I click on this plus icon over here, you can see now I can decide, do I want to connect a flow branch, something AI like the AI agent branch, and so forth, the data transformation. So there's many different options when it comes from how do you start your flow. In my case, I want to quickly show you how easy it would be to set up something like a chat agent. So I'm going to remove the trigger, the click trigger, and replace it with some sort of chat trigger. So I can say chat, and then there's the chat trigger. And you can just see when I just type in chat, how many companies and platforms pop up. And then these are all the integrations. Now that I've added this chat trigger, right after this, I'm going to click on this plus icon, and I'm going to go ahead and add an AI node. So I can click on AI agent over here. And as you can see, immediately it pops up the configuration. Remember, you can double click on them and set their settings, so to speak. Now on the left-hand side, you'll see there's this input section. This is where data is going to come in from the left and go out to the right on the output. In the middle, you usually set your settings, how the data is going to move from the one side to the other, or what does this specific node need? Does it need credentials? Does it need to connect? Is it a database, right? Does it need that connection? In this case, it's an AI agent. And so here we just say, what do we want this to be the trigger from? Now you'll see it says JSON.chat input. So if I just go back, so if I look at this chat right here, I can see there's the chat trigger. So if I just say hi and I send it, you can see that this process just ran, and you can see it went green, and now it passed the data into this AI agent node. So here you can see the message, right? It has a session ID, and then in the chat input, JSON.chat input, it's going to pass in this message to this AI. But we don't have an AI yet. We still need to connect an AI, right? I'm going to click out of that. And here you can see at the bottom, we can connect a chat model. We can connect some memory so it can remember what you're talking about, and some MCP tools. And the process is the same, right? You click on the plus icon and you see what's available to use. Now here you can see tons and tons of models that you can use. There's Mistral, here's Olama, there's Vercel AI Gateway chat model. I'm going to go for the OpenAI chat model. And the reason why is because I actually went and gone ahead and bought some tokens on OpenAI's platform. So how this works is OpenAI's platform, you can go and sign in, basically go and check out their pricing. So for every 1 million tokens pass input, decation, and the output, you can see the pricing. So for ChatGPT 5, it's quite high, but GPT-5 has a big reasoning model, right? It's very large. So you can opt for smaller models as well and see the pricing. And trust me, 1 million tokens is quite a lot, especially if you work smartly with it, right? If you don't overbear your model with questions and frequent requests, but be smart about it, use some sort of cache or filter data so you don't send so much in context to your model, you can really go a long way with a few tokens, which I'll show you now my usage. Now, here's my usage, and of course, it's subjective, right? It really depends on how much you use your AI model in your flows. However, you can see in the beginning here about a week ago, the community, they got very excited about the AI model in the Discord channel, so they started chatting to it quite a lot. But even with that, and even with my daily processes running each day, it's really not a lot that my processes are taking and costing me with using AI and these big open AI reasoning models. So you can see now I spent about 30 cents, and I'm sure it's going to increase the more processes I add, the better models I use, and so forth. But I try and be smart around the way that I use the AI models. Now, the reason why I'm showing you this is that I decided to create an account here so that I can have access to my API keys, which you'll of course need in your workflows because you'll need those API keys when you set up your model. For example, if I click now back here and we see that we've connected the OpenAI chat model, if I go to my accounts here, the credentials, I already set up my credentials. Now, like I said, there's many videos that will show you how to quickly set up credentials, whether it's OpenAI, Google, anything you can think of, Slack, WhatsApp. You just Google N8N, WhatsApp, or whatever the platform is you want to connect. Make sure it's a trusted video, and then go and check and follow along on how you can set up your credentials. So here I already did that, and N8N saves it so I can use it throughout many other processes. And here I've got GPT 4.1 mini selected as the brain, right, of our AI. Now back in our workflow for the memory section, if I wanted to connect memory so that the AI can remember our conversations, I can choose something like Postgres, MongoDB, Redis, and I can also go for simple memory, which will be internal here in N8N. I can just decide to leave it as default, especially the key over there. And then for tools, I can decide to add tools as well, which I have in my other flow, which I'll show you. But we basically done, right? And so now that these two things are connected, I can also add an output node, maybe exporting it or sending it as an email. It can be really creative. But now if I go here and I type in hi again, and I hit enter, you can see how the AI agent is thinking. It goes to the model responds, and it stores it in simple memory. And if I actually open this up, I can actually see the output here. Hello, how can I assist you today? And so yeah, so this actual output came from GPT 4.1 now. And also what's cool is we can customize this agent. We can actually go ahead and say, hey, here's a system message. You are not a helpful agent, but maybe you are a fictional character from a book. And that's exactly what I did with the other flow. And I actually gave it the entire book using RAG. Now, when you do this, you're customizing it, right? You're making it your own. And so you can just keep on extending the nodes, maybe adding some different output channels, such as a Slack or an email. Maybe you have a process that goes and reads an email, checks up a product catalog, and responds to that email with something that's in that product catalog. Now, there's various things you can do. Now, I just wanted to show you this quickly to show you how easy it is to set up things. Yes, it's a learning curve, but if you put the time into it, you can build some awesome flows. Now that you understand how this all roughly works, I'm going to go to my other flows. Let's go into the circumfusion AI agent and let me explain the flow and how this all works. Now, firstly, we have to give some information to this agent eventually. We have to give it the entire book, the novel that was written by the community. In order to do that, I've got this separate flow here, which if you look at the description of this video, the video that I followed to set this up is definitely included here. Essentially, I connected the drive, the Google Drive, holding the entire book. I then used the Supabase vector store and the OpenAI embeddings model to go and embed or basically vectorize this data for the vector database. This creates for us a kind of searchable index of the book that the AI can use. And this is an external database, hence we're going to use it again here, but remember it's external to N8N. Then here for the triggers, I've got a schedule trigger. Every 1 hour, it's going to do this flow. It's going to run this flow and go and see if it has new messages in Discord that it needs to respond to. Now, this is where working smart with your nodes and your flows comes in, because every time it searches for all the messages, if I do not have some conditional statements, it's going to try and run this all through my AI model. So the first thing I do here is I set up a filter for the date to make sure that there is only messages coming in that is from a certain time period. We don't want old messages. Then we go and sort it. So just sorted which messages came in first so we can respond first to them. And then I have a code check. Basically, this code check checks for if the messages contains the word Ethan. And that's my trigger word. That is for me a knowing telling sign that someone wants to speak to Ethan, the character, this AI agent. Once that happens, I have a loop. Now, the reason why I have a loop here is because there's many messages and we need to handle them each separately. And we also need to make some decisions on them. For example, each one of these messages is going to loop through the Postgres database. Now, why Postgres? Because it's an external database. It's not the internal small memory from N8N. So here you can see it as well. I'm using the same Postgres database here that it's checking here to check if this message was responded to previously. Because if it is, we don't want to re-respond to this message, as we're going to end up in a loop where the AI agent is sending 2 or 3 or 4 of the same message. So then we add a conditional statement here, logic gate, to see if it's true. Basically, if it didn't find that message, it's going to see it as a new message, someone who really wants to chat to the agent, and then the agent's going to process it, it's going to use its brain, and then it's going to basically go and store it in that Postgres database so it doesn't respond to it again. And interestingly here is on the tool section, I've connected that Supabase vector store, basically the one that we here vectorize the book. So when a message mentions the book, the agent can use the MCP tool to go and look up basically the vector database and kind of take some of the chunks and put it in with the context for it to know what to respond to. And lastly, it just sends the message back to Discord to that same message. Now, the other interesting part to this is if I open up the AI agent and I look at its configuration, I can see that I've got a system message here explaining the behavior of Ethan. This is Ethan, the character from the book, but we're telling the AI agent in its system message who he is. He is Ethan. He comes from the circumfusion book, and how should he speak? How should he behave? And important notes about his personality so that when users chat to him, they feel like they're actually chatting to the character from the book. Let me show you what I mean by that by sending a message in Discord and seeing the response. All right, so as you can clearly see, I am doing this during Halloween, but here I sent a message, "Hey Ethan, how are you?" Ethan responded with his southern drawl and asking me what's on my mind, right? So here I'm just going to now send a message again saying, that's great, Ethan. Remember, I have to put in that keyword. Tell me about Alice. Alice is a character from the book. And here you can see Ethan's response, clearly talking about Alice and the struggles she goes through and explaining what Ethan knows of her from the book. And remember, the AI does know about the book because of RAG, right? Because of how we give it that context, or how it searches for that context whenever it doesn't know. And it picked up there that we spoke about Alice, and Alice appears in the book. So it did a quick search, found some chunks of Alice, and then added that back into our chat. So now you've seen a workflow run in N8N, and you kind of hopefully get the gist of what's happening here. N8N makes it easy for us to construct these workflows and have them run automatically, helping us to include AI. And like I showed you, it is really easy to get this up and running and into production. Now, I have not shown you exactly what these nodes contain. It's very straightforward, the setup. So if you want me to make tutorials like setting up these workflows, let me know. I don't mind doing that because it's really cool and really fun. Just want to speak a little bit about some of the other workflows that I have, which is something like this tech feed. And this is a very small but yet powerful workflow that basically runs once a day. I can go and get the RSS feeds from all of these sites, basically condense that information in order for me to get the most latest articles, aggregate that data, send it through an AI agent that's going to compose a nice email for me, turn that into Markdown, and then email it to me. And just like that, I've got a personalized news feed coming to my email in the mornings so I can check up on what's the latest AI news. So yes, this is just an example of what you can do as well. And now be ready to have your mind blown, because if you go to N8N's workflows section on their website, you can see there's over 6,000 workflows, automation templates ready, available for you to use. Some of them are paid, but most of them are also free from these amazing creators. And you can literally just go ahead, click on something, view it, explore it, and then just start using it. They explain how everything works, and you can just use it if you feel like that is going to assist you. Now, before you run off and get so excited about N8N, just remember to have security in mind always. When you work with online processes, and especially when you work with webhooks, meaning that if anyone reaches that webhook and calls it, they can execute your workflow. And if you have something like an AI agent involved, it can run up your costs of that process running. So just make sure if you use webhooks, there's proper authentication involved with that, just so that you know as well, especially for someone who is new to web development. So that is it for the video today. I just wanted to introduce you guys to N8N and show you how cool it is. And I'm certainly going to play around with more workflows, trying to automate some stuff. And I'm definitely going to show you when I've made a very cool workflow. So yes, I'll share with you that. I hope you have a cool Halloween and just a nice festive season. It's almost end of the year, so I can feel the holiday vibes in the air. And yes, have a fantastic day. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers for now.